sideways, boys in the days. Sitting sideways, boys in the days. Sitting sideways.
Welcome to episode I don't remember, I don't care, of Sittin Sideways. I'm your host, Reezy. You can find me on Twitter at ReezySeason, ReezySzn, and I'm here with my boy Ike.
My name's Ike Cuellar. You can find me on Twitter at Ike Cuellar. That's IKECUELLAR. Make sure you guys are tapped into our podcast on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe. And we're also on Apple and Spotify, man. Y'all come tap in.
Yeah, download on the podcast apps, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you need to get your content from. Personally, I don't know about you. I've kind of jumped to YouTube for all my stuff now, other than music. I'm still on Apple Music, but whatever. This is our first episode back since the end of the season. So we're just gonna do end of the season awards. Keep it light, keep it fun. We kind of have an idea of who we're gonna pick for what, and just have like a quick discussion on them. And then Ike has some Texans thoughts. I'm curious to hear it. I don't know what they are. I'm also just hyped as shit for the season. The draft is coming up soon, right? Casario is gonna go nuclear and do some wild shit. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Jerseys are coming out tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 10. I will be present for that.
10
I
a.m.
will be at the team store. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're gonna open. That's what time the team store opens.
Sick. It's gonna be dope. I can't wait to see what they look like. I've seen some of the leaks and stuff. Pretty much all of the leaks I've been like, that's kind of heat. Like any new design, I'm pretty much on board unless it's like really ass.
Yeah.
You remember those the not to pick on the Mavs, but the graffiti jerseys that they put out?
Yes, bro.
Dude, those were so bad. Like
Trash. Yeah.
If it's that tier, then I'm like, all right, get that shit away from me. But if it's not that bad, like the Clippers logo, not the latest redesign, but the one before that, I was like, that's some ass. OKC's redesign was ass. But like most of the time I'm on board. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it. We'll see what it looks like. It should be exciting. But we'll start with the Rockets. And let's just start with the big award, MVP. I'm gonna go first real quick, just because I think I have the obvious choice. I think you have a little more of an unorthodox choice, and I want to let you explain it and take your time with it. So I'm gonna run through mine. I think most people will agree. Şengün was definitely MVP candidate for our team, for like within our little microcosm of who was playing excellently. Is that even a word? Whatever. Şengün was cooking, right? All season he was cooking until that injury, which looked really bad and scared the shit out of us, but it was fine, right? He's gonna be okay. He's coming back next season, no problem. He was walking around. We saw him walking around in person right after the injury. That was sick. But yeah, let's talk about it. This dude jumped from like, oh, he's showing like flashes of Jokic. He's showing like flashes of Sabonis to like, is he better than Sabonis already? Like we're talking about, is he going to be in the All-Star game? Like at that point, I feel like I have to give him his props. To me, he's MVP just because he's the best like player on the team, period. Like we run the offense through him. It fucking hums. His defense improved significantly. He's becoming that dude, and it feels like he's believing that as well, and the team is believing it. Like even when he dropped out, a bunch of the guys were like, yeah, we lost our best player, so we got to like all step up or whatever. Everybody kind of acknowledges it. So that's why he's my pick. Congratulations, Şengün, for winning the. Did we do awards last season?
I don't think so, bro.
I was gonna say the first ever Sittin Sideways MVP award, but I don't know if it's first or second. I'm just gonna call it the first because I don't remember the first if it was last year. The first ever Sittin Sideways MVP from me, at least. Congratulations, Şengün. But who did you pick? You had a more interesting pick, I think, than my standardized pick.
Yeah, because MVP, stands for most valuable player, right? But
he's kind of a player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he played before in the league, but my choice was Ime Udoka, bro, and that's because of how he turned, the franchise around and had a 500 record this year, bro. It wasn't a losing season. We almost made it into the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of games that we can go back and look, and we lost by like less than 5 points, and some ridiculous calls here and there. We would have been in the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if we would have made it into the playoffs, but just to give yourself a chance there, it really speaks volumes of the type of coach that he is and the impact he had on this team, from the culture to the defense to the guys just playing, more together. We saw that too when Shingun went out. I think the guys really rallied around each other and really wanted to play for Shingun because they knew he was the best player. But that comes, with the coaching
Mhm.
and how he was just everywhere, just being, that vocal leader. Really, I picked this award because of how he was talking shit to LeBron that first game and, what he called them. So that was, a big part of why I chose him as the MVP. I thought that was such a dope moment. And it really just established, you know, the culture and our identity defensively, right? So that's my choice for MVP. Ime Udoka, man, like, gotta give him his flowers, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously like since it's awards for a team anyway, we can pick whoever the fuck we want. So yeah, solid choice. I have nothing to disagree with there. Like you said, the tone that he sets, like standing up to LeBron or whatever and being like, quit bitching. Just letting your coach, set that kind of tone and like carrying it onto the court. You want to see that from your team. Like you want to see them as an extension, of the coach and like the philosophy and all that. When D'Antoni was the coach, obviously like James Harden and Chris Paul were his extensions on the court, right? They were his floor generals. Um, and so just like that, you have like not necessarily floor generals like Ime would have, um, but like kind of enforcers like Ime was, you know? So like everybody on the team, all of a sudden, nobody's taking any shit
Yep.
whatsoever. Like it went from, who was it? DeJounte Murray bonking a ball off of Jabari. He would not like imagine doing that this season.
Oh
There would
yeah.
be like 3 rockets on his ass, before he even caught the ball back. So just that setting that tone, setting that reputation. And I talked about this on the timeline a couple of days ago because it was sort of like a playoff relevant thing, but I like that our team is scrappy or whatever. I love that he's made us like that. I really just hope it doesn't veer into like heat culture territory where it's like now they feel like they have this reputation to keep up and so they like do borderline dirty shit now. I don't want our team to be doing that shit. Just don't let anybody punk you, which I feel like is what Ime focuses on. He's like, yeah, a team that isn't known for punking people came in here, punked us. And like, he's letting his guys know, like, you got bitched.
He
Like, you
cooked
got to
them,
step it
yeah.
up if you don't want to get bitched. So, like, for that, I totally understand. I get what you're saying. Ime is definitely one of the MVPs.
But I
Um,
will I will add this, Reezy.
mhm.
I think the scuffles were more of like to build the team chemistry and just letting the league know you can't bully us or fuck with
Mhm.
us anymore.
Not
Think
the
about
baby
some of the
Rockets anymore.
Yeah, think about some of the quotes that he had whenever our man got ejected from that Mavs game, and he was just saying, "I told him to aim lower." You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So he's like
He's like, be
clearly
more
cool
discreet
with
about
him.
it.
Yeah, he's clearly like cool with that and just establishing, you know, that aggressiveness on the floor. And the other time with Jabari,
Hmm.
when he squared up with somebody and he
I think it
said
was Chris
something
Dunn,
like,
right?
"Yeah." He said something like, if you're gonna throw a punch and not even land it, then why even throw the punch
Yeah.
to begin with? You know what I mean?
They
So I
say get
thought
your
that was
money's worth.
pretty dope. Yeah, bro. So that's my coach right there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't like I loved having D'Antoni as head coach, but I can't imagine him saying some shit like that. And like I appreciate that Udoka said it. Like at least the guys know he'll have their backs if they're getting into some shit on the court. They don't have to like sit there and take it and then worry about that and let it become a sideshow or whatever. Um, but yeah, there's our MVPs. DPOYs. You want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I'll go first. I have Amen Thompson. I think it's obviously the easy choice just because of everything he does on the court, bro. On defense, plays the passing lanes, rebounds, um, his ability to stay in front of like the quickest guys.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly, You know what I'm saying? That was one of the things that everybody raved about him before the draft. And we saw it on tape, but we wanted to see how it translated to the NBA and if he could still, carry his own and still, do a good job in the league, and he did. And look at some of the blocks that he had. Remember that block against the Jazz to like win the game?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was huge. That was like one of the first times we've seen his athleticism at display there
Mm-hmm.
because he was hurt, first part of the year. So I'm a little mad that we missed out on a little bit of our men because I think we would have seen more, but it kind of worked out, to our favor because we had a lot of injuries along the way. And to see him get just like those meaningful minutes, even Cam Whitmore too, was really cool to see, man. And the defense was all over, bro. Like the moment he came into the court, that was what stood out the most to me from my man Thompson. And you could just tell, like, he takes a lot of pride, on that side of the ball. And it was really cool to see.
Yeah, he's he's my pick as well. I felt like it was obvious for us with Tari being out. I think if Tari had played the season, then you could make a case,
Yeah, yeah.
that there's two like A1 defensive sort of players or prospects on the team. Uh, I kind of wanted to say Dylan initially, but like he fell off near the end of the season. Pretty much for like the second half of the season. His defense wasn't the same as it was the first half. But Amen, like you said, we just didn't get to see him that first whatever portion of that season of the season. And but then when we did finally see him, especially after hearing about like Asar Thompson in Detroit, right? About how good he was defensively. They're talking about like, oh, he's one of the greatest defensive guards of all time, whatever, blah blah blah, or like prospects of all time. And you're like, okay, well, Amin was kind of sold on his point guard skills, not really his defense, like Asar was. Let's see what he's got. And his point guard skills leave something to be desired. His handle isn't entirely there. His instincts are really good. His basketball IQ is insane. Um, but what was there from like day one on display was that defensive instinct because he's got those whatever rocket boosters in his shoes that let him get up really quick. You remember Clint Capella could get up really fast on like the second jump. He's
Yeah.
got like that kind of speed, like that kind of abnormal, unusual speed on just like every jump because he's that like fucking insane as an alien prospect. Um, so yeah, his size, his speed, and his just like leaping ability, the combination. I don't know if I've ever seen a player like that. The one I thought of who doesn't really have the same leaping ability was Tayshaun Prince. He doesn't have the same like leaping ability or like speed, but he was strong as shit, and he was so like super lanky. So he had like the like wingspan and like the ability to get some crazy blocks. So that's kind of like what I see with Amen. But like if you can throw in elite high IQ point guard play into that package, throw in like an acceptable shot. Like, come on, dog, we're cooking with gas now. Like, Amen Thompson
Yes.
is top tier prospect on this team in my eyes. In terms of like the core six, whatever, he's like top two.
Facts.
So I'm just
Yep.
excited to see where he goes from here. He's still super young, still super raw. We'll see what they can cook up with this kid because he's just a boatload of talent right now.
And
So
just to add to like the defensive skills that he has, after Shingun got hurt, there was a lot of times where there was, you know, mismatches or there was screen set where he was forced to guard the 4 or the 5, and he really held his own through
yeah.
that stretch, bro. I remember the San Antonio game. There was a couple of times where he was guarding Wemby. I know ideally you don't want him, to be
Mm-hmm.
guarding him down in the post, but he held his own, and we were able to get away with a lot of those possessions because he's really good. You know what I'm saying? He's really effective
Mm-hmm.
on defense, and he knows what to do. So it's not just like the athleticism and everything. It's really like you said, the IQ,
Mm-hmm.
right, and how to play defense the right way without fouling, and the
His
guy's just
timing is
clearly talented.
insane.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but yeah, his timing, like you said, his instinct on defense is insane. And he doesn't. It doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. I know people say that about defense all the time, and like there's a reason why. It's like he's altering shots that are just showing up as misses for the other team. But like you said on Wemby, he's getting up in there and like getting up there quicker than Wemby expects, changing the shot Wemby's missing. That's about as much as you can ask for. Him and Dylan did a
Mhm.
number on Wemby those couple of games.
Yep.
And then I think in that stretch, I don't know if it was March or February, but he was averaging more rebounds than Wemby was.
Yeah, we
And
talked
like
about it.
he's a point guard prospect. He's 6'7", but he's a point guard prospect. It's kind of crazy. It's not what you expect. So next up, rookie of the year. I'm just gonna say mine because we just covered him. Amen Thompson. I'm going with another easy pick, straightforward. Um, what more do I need to say? Like, if he gets his shot, if he gets a little bit of ball handling, cooking with gas. I'll pass it to you on that.
Before I get into my answer, though, I will add that he's so good on the court, Reezy, that you don't even have to play him at point guard for him to be super effective. You put him in the dunker spot like we did, and he balled out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a couple of times, where he was a point guard in certain situations in the play, but for the most part, we really had Fred or Jalen out there as the primary ball handler, and he was still like the plus minus when he was on the court. You remember that how
Mm-hmm.
effective he was. That's how good this guy is and can be in the future. Like you said, we're cooking with gas because we still haven't seen it all. From the shot and the handle being added to his game. So looking forward to that. But
Mm-hmm.
my pick, I would say, is Cam Whitmore because of his aggressiveness and how he was never really afraid of the moment. He never really was rattled. He always was ready to shoot. He was a catch and shoot guy, no matter what, whether it was fourth quarter or first quarter. I think his only problem is the playmaking really wasn't there for him. I think once he becomes a better passer, it's going to be scary, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also going to help everybody else out. And I think once he realizes I can get my team, involved earlier, it's just, easier for you. And he's going to be able to cook more and average more points and free throw attempts because he wasn't scared to go down there and dunk on somebody, bro. Like he was there to poster somebody and go to the free throw line like we've seen him do numerous times. And we've seen a lot of highlight plays from Cam Whitmore this year,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell he was playing with a chip on his shoulder, man.
Yeah, you could tell from the way I mean, like right from the beginning of the season, right? He said he's gonna show up every GM who passed up on him or whatever. And like think about it. He played whether he was playing LeBron, whether he was playing Wemby, he was just going for poster dunks. Like he's not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid of anybody else in the league. He really has that like killer instinct of like I'm the best player on the floor. And like the fact that he went 20th or whatever doesn't bother him. The fact that he's 18 or whatever doesn't bother him. He doesn't give a shit. So I'm like kind of worried about how good he could be and like how young he is and like how low on the totem pole he is just by default. Like you got these six guys and like who do you even like how could you even pick like who's the lowest on the totem pole, right? Like by
Facts.
draft stock and like age, right? Or like experience, Cam is technically on the bottom. Last to be drafted at 20th. But like dude, he could be an A1 prospect on another team. He
Yep.
could have gone fourth. Like we could have taken him fourth, and people would have been like, "All right, it's Cam Whitmore. He's there taking him fourth." Surprised Amen Thompson's going fifth, right? Like that's all it would. That's all that would have happened. Nobody would have blinked. So the fact that we have two like potentially S tier prospects on the team just from the last draft, and then we have Jabari, and then we have Jalen and Shengun, and
Yeah.
Tari's just he didn't even play this season. It's crazy. I know I'm like going off on a fucking tangent about how stacked we are now, but yeah, honestly, I can't disagree. Both of the rookies this year, both of them deserve their flowers. So co-rookies of the year. I don't give a shit.
Yes, sir.
Amen and Cam, congratulations. Um, Next up, clutch player of the year. I don't remember who you picked on this one. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I got Jalen Green
Okay,
as
so
the
we picked.
clutch player of the year.
Got it.
Specifically for that game against the OKC Thunder at OKC. I think we both agreed that that was the best game of his career
Hmm.
as far as, shot making, distributing, playing defense, just showing up during the clutch time, bro. Really in that second half, he was making James Harden-esque threes, like step backs. One of the last plays where he drove in, it found Jabari in the corner, playmaking, just being ready for the moment. And that was a moment where a lot of us Rocket fans saw that game and was like, okay, this is something that he's going to build from, something he's going to learn from, and we're going to get better from this as a team, not just Jalen. But remember, when we're in that winning streak, he was doing all this while we were winning. You know what I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
think that's really matters, because if a guy is putting up 30 points a game, but we're losing, it kind of doesn't matter in a way, right? Because you're still taking an L, but the team was getting better. We were getting more confidence, and it was mainly Jalen Green going off in those games.
Hmm.
So I would, for clutch player of the year, definitely Jalen Green. Really hoping to see more of this in the future, and I think we will, because he's going to build from this.
Yeah, I had the same. It was Jalen. Not to say like he was the one who whatever scored the most in clutch time or even won us the most games at the buzzer or whatever, but just for that month, right, where it seemed like he reached a level like he peaked higher than any other prospect has peaked for that stretch that month. Obviously the win streak, maybe the teams were a little bit easier or whatever. Um, but he went nuclear. Like he was putting up insane numbers for that stretch. So I'm not gonna take that away from him. That's why I have to give him close player of the year for that month. Uh, he turned into like prime James Harden, where we were like, oh shit, we need 3 points. Get it to Jalen now. Sorry,
You know?
excuse me. This fucking cherry coke is whooping my ass. But like when you get that kind of trust in a player, when you have that kind of like, not only is he a release valve at this point, he's like option A through like G, like you need to get the ball to him. That whole and credit to the Rockets, they were feeding him the whole time. His numbers went through the roof. But like you said, it wasn't just his scoring, it was his defense, it was his playmaking, just his like it seemed like his IQ elevated in that moment, like the game slowed down again. He cooled down a little bit afterwards, and I think all of us expected his shooting to come back down to earth a little bit. But yeah, the defense was still there. The playmaking was still there. I'm excited to see where he takes it next season. I have hope that he'll win a different award next year on our team. Um, we didn't really talk about this before, but what do you think about his extension situation?
Well, I think the ball is on our court, right? As far as just seeing what happens with other teams and what they offer him,
Hmm.
and then how do you feel about the offer, and you can match it, right? And keep him. But from what I saw from Jalen this year, bro, I'm all in of keeping him. Now, I'm not saying, a crazy contract or anything like that, but something that works well for both sides, right? Where
Hmm.
he's happy, we want to keep him and it works out for everybody and it makes sense, is what I'm
Hmm.
saying. So, I think it's really, up to us. I like the situation because we're almost at control of it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, right? Because
Yeah, the
we
Rockets
can
hold
match the
most of the
offer.
cards. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Rockets as an organization hold most of the cards in the situation. It really, if they let it go to restricted free agency, I really don't have a problem with that. I think for a player like Jalen, who came in with so much hype, there might be an expectation from his side that like there's a certain number that needs to be met. Um, I don't know how much they're factoring in the last 3 years. But yeah, like you said, whatever the Rockets decide, I'm leaning towards keeping him because of that month. Because players don't just pop off a month like that, casually. Like Corey
Mhm.
Brewer will drop 50, sure. whatever. Malachi, what was it? Malachi Flynn, right?
Yeah,
Dropped
bro, that
a
was
50-point
crazy.
game. Like, what the fuck, right?
Yeah,
Sadiq Bey will have a 50-point game or whatever. But it takes like a different kind of player, a different type of athlete to like sustain the sort of play that Jalen sustained over a month. And so like I think what the Rockets should focus on doing is like be like, yeah, we'll handle it in restricted free agency. Let's figure out what went right that month and let's try and replicate that over the season. Like I know Stone was joking about like, oh, what would you say to Jalen? Or he's like, do that shit earlier. Or Ime
yeah,
said that, right? Ime was like, do it earlier.
yeah,
Yeah, like that's really I need them to figure out actually what he needs to be doing earlier. Like I don't want it to just be, oh, let's see what Jalen can do next year. Like let's fucking optimize this shit, you know? If like they said, Şengün and Jalen can play together, because they were like, oh, it's a guard and a center. Like obviously they can play together. Then let's fucking see it. Like I want to see Şengün playing like he was all season, and I want to see Jalen playing all season like he was in March. Period. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Like, I don't need a player on a $30 million contract who can give me one good month. If it's gonna be one good month, it better be the playoffs. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
Well,
really
definitely.
like that. Doesn't move the needle for me, especially when we have so many good prospects. That's
Yeah,
why
man. He definitely needs to do that earlier, bro.
I need
Like
the consistency.
November, December, you know what I'm saying? Be ready for that, be aggressive and learn from it, like we talked about. But I love that response from Stone when he said, well, one of them's a center and one of them's a
Hmm.
guard. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's
overall,
kind
I
of
did like that response. It it made sense to me overall. But let's see
yeah,
it. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Because that the response is something that Stone will always say. Like he says stuff without really saying anything, but like still answering your question. And it just makes sense, bro, because if you can just play off each other, right? And we talked about it before. For example, if Shingun has the ball, you know, everybody can cut. You can move without the ball. He's going
Hmm.
to find you. He's a
Well, we
great
saw Amen
passer.
Thompson do it, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to
And
be a playmaker, he's supposed to be the initiator of the play. And even he was finding like baseline cuts and getting points. I mean, granted a little bit after Şengün was on the court, but still like anybody can do it, like you said.
yeah, man. And then when Jalen has the ball, he's become a better playmaker this year. We saw with the pick and roll, and just build on that. You just know that this guy Shingun is the hub of the offense, and we started seeing it too when we needed them real bad against Dallas the first time here when we didn't have Shingun and they were doubling Jalen. Like that's when you know that, man, if we had Shingun right now, we would have beat this team. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And I think they're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna work well together, bro. Like I don't think like people talking down that they can't coexist is weird to
Mm-hmm.
me. Like you guys don't
Yeah,
know ball.
I don't remember who said it. It was either a coach from like the previous generation or whatever. But he was like smart players figure it out. Like great players figure it out, right? Like you can put Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh on a team together, and they'll figure it out. You can put LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie on a team together, and they'll figure it out. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and KG on a team together, and they'll figure it out, right? So like, are you great? Like, can you be great together? Then you'll figure it out, right? Like, if you can, then you'll figure it out. But we'll see what happens. Oh, one thing I did want to know, and it's funny that we talked this long about Jalen. He is still, even if he's not the best player on the team, he is still the most interesting piece on this team to talk about, because of the potential and the reality. But what I wanted to point out was that OKC game that you mentioned. I forgot to touch on this. Shea was out, and so I was looking forward to like in my head, I was thinking like, oh, we're finally gonna see like true rebuild against rebuild, like matched up against each other. Because Shea was there before our rebuild started or whatever, and he's part of their like uh Paul George trade, right? The year before when they blew
Yeah.
it up. So yeah, Şengün being out and it being an overtime game that was that tight, I think speaks to how well this rebuild has gone for us because everybody's like, look at OKC, they're in the best position for the future. Our best player was out, their MVP candidate was out, and we sent him to overtime. So like I think we're in a great position. We have a great head coach. Some of the similarities between Ime and like D'Amico's situation are
Yeah.
pretty interesting to think about. Maybe we'll dive into that on another podcast. But yeah, so clutch player of the year, Jalen, but I need him to do it in more than just the clutch part of the season. You know what I'm saying? So do it
Hmm.
all season, win MVP next year or most improved player.
Yes, sir.
Um, we're moving on. Next award, six man of the year, and we got totally new players for this on our list. I'm gonna go first. I picked Aaron Holiday, and he was just the first one that popped into my mind. Not because he's whatever truly the best six man on the team, but just like I wanted to give somebody props. I wanted to give him props, and I wanted to give somebody props who wasn't gonna otherwise get them. Um, but yeah, he. You remember the game before the gala when he was cooking?
Yes, bro.
Oh, fuck, who did we play?
The Bulls.
That's right. He
Yeah.
was cooking, and he kept us in that game, dude. And he kept us in multiple games this season. And I think we had another Holiday brother on the team, didn't we? Was it Justin Holiday?
I can't remember, bro, but it rings a
Mhm.
bell.
But there was another one on the team, and I thought at the beginning of the season, I thought we signed the same guy, and
Hmm.
it's not the same guy. There's another Holiday brother, and we signed him. And so Aaron has been not perfect. There's definitely been games where I'm like, get him off the court. He doesn't have it tonight. But most nights he comes in as like a steady vet backup point guard, runs the offense, and provides like microwave scoring here and there. And more often than not, I was very comfortable when he had the ball in his hands. And just for that, I'm giving him six man of the year because our backup point guard play has not always been great because our point guard play has not always been great. So it was nice to have like a wealth of point guards. What is it? At least we had a lot of good point guard minutes every game. You know what I'm saying? So Aaron
Yeah.
Holiday was my pick.
And I'll add to what you're saying, bro. There was a lot of games where he bust like three or four threes, and he was the only guy that was making shots out there.
Yeah.
So just by that alone, he's gonna get minutes because that was something we are lacking earlier this year. It's like shooting. We really didn't start getting hot until later in the season. So when you have a guy that can come off the bench and provide that spark, you know what I'm saying, give you points like that, he's gonna be in the game by default, bro. I mean, you can make threes out there, spread the floor like that, you're gonna be in, but for my choice, man, of six man of the year, I got Uncle Jeff Green. If you just look at it, man, playing at 37 years old, I think he played something like 78 games, and just
Yeah.
how productive he was, and still athletic as hell, bro. We saw a lot of
Yes.
times where he was blocking shots, getting up there, dunks, dunking on people, and occasionally hitting some threes here and there. Just really spectacular effort by him, bro, and like everything that he did this year, from just having that vet in the locker room and like bringing the guys together. That's one thing that we lacked last year is we didn't have vets like that you can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember earlier in the year when Jock was a little ass. You remember that he was getting most of his minutes, and everybody was cool with it because you
Mm-hmm.
knew what Uncle Jeff was bringing on to the court, what he was going to do, and how effective he was, especially when we went into like some of the small ball lineups where he was like guarding the five,
Mm-hmm.
but he would spread the floor on the other side because he was able to shoot the three. So a lot of advantages that we had because of Uncle Jeff on the court, man, and that's my reason for picking him sixth man of the year
Yeah.
from our team.
Yeah. I mean, some of the shit he did, granted, okay, I don't watch a lot of LeBron games, but like I definitely saw more moments this season watching Uncle Jeff where I was like, yo, he's doing this shit at 37 than I did with LeBron, at 37. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, it's LeBron, whatever, like you kind of expect it. But like Uncle Jeff at 37, dude, he's posterizing dudes and getting like poster blocks, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, shout out to Uncle Jeff, especially because he was here during that 2018 run. He's one of
Mhm.
those guys that's like super feel good on the team for me. Him, Boban, like this was a really fun team this year. Um, it was most of the time good vibes, like on the team itself, from what we could tell. Who the fuck knows?
Mhm.
But like in comparison, sort of to like the discourse that was going on around the team, like considering how well they outplayed expectations, and like the change in reputation, the change in just like how they are like spoken about, it's guys like Jeff Green and Aaron Holiday and Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks and even Jock Landale who changed that narrative for us. Otherwise, even if the young guys had played better, they'd be like, they're still the baby Rockets. They didn't make the playoffs, like whatever. But like now it's the story is kind of like, oh, we barely missed the playoffs. We have 41 wins and missed the playoffs, the best 11 seed ever and the best team to not make the playoffs ever, in my opinion.
19 wins. We have 19 more wins this year, bro. That's a big improvement
That's an
from
insane
last year.
improvement. Yeah.
Yes.
So like it's hard overall to like look at this team, even like what I'm trying to say is like top to bottom, 1 through 15. All of these guys will be like important Rockets to like the fans who watch this season, even in the future. Well, we'll move on. Most improved player. I think you should go first on this because you have the choice probably most people thought of.
Yeah, I have Alperen Şengün for most improved player, and everybody knows why. I think one thing that stood out for me this year was how good he was on defense, and we didn't see that last year. He struggled a little bit, with defense last year, with some of the pick and roll stuff, but he improved this year. He held his own. We saw it in those games versus the Nuggets, the beginning of the year. I think we beat them 3 times, right, Reezy? Where it
Yeah, I think
was
yeah.
we beat them twice at home, and then we beat them once over there at Denver, if I remember correctly. But in those games, you could tell the defense really picked up for the entire team, and it started with him because he was your anchor. And you could tell, man, the guys fed off of that. And that's one of the reasons why I think this guy is the best player on the team, because there was something that he knew he needed to work on, and he improved on it a lot, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And this year in defense, we are really good. I don't have like the numbers or stats right now, but I think we were top 10 defense mostly the whole year, right? And it
Yeah.
started with him. So, you know, props to LP, man, for, showing that. And I think that he'll come stronger next year. He'll get,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as he gets healthier, he'll show what he can do on both sides of the ball. And, that's my pick for most improved player this year since sideways.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'm gonna add on before I go into my pick. But yeah, like you said, he's only gonna get bigger, he's only gonna get stronger. And yeah, that jump in defense, like you said, we were top 10 for pretty much the whole season. Um, but there were stretches that Şengün was like playing heavy minutes that we were top five.
Yep.
Like when our net rating was top five, defensive rating was top five, offensive rating was top five, and we were just losing tough games. Like you remember we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, we lost some close games that probably kept us from making the playoffs. Those games we're only in those positions because of the jump that Şengün made on the defensive end to make him playable in those minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like his offense, at least in the previous 2 seasons, wasn't enough to outweigh his defense. Obviously, we lost so many games, right? If it was good enough, then we would have won them. This year we started winning them. Like we went half and half. We went 500. So obviously that 20 game jump, I put most of it on sort of like Udoka implementing such an identity of defense among the team, among the players, but because the best player embraced that and went
Mm-hmm.
all out in spite of
Okay.
his, height differentials, in spite of his wingspan differentials, in spite of his lateral quickness issues, whatever it was, he held his own when he needed to. It didn't matter if he got blocked by Wembanyama 6 times, like he was holding his own on defense. He stripped that fool like 3 times during that game. So, credit where credit is due. He improved his game in a huge way. My pick is not taking away from that. My pick was I have like I have an agenda pick. I wanted to address a couple of things. I feel like Jabari didn't get enough credit this season. So Jabari is my pick for most improved player. Just because, do you remember how bleak that pick looked? Like Jabari as a pick looked at some parts last season. Like there
Yeah,
were some times we were like, should we have gone with Jaden Ivey? You know?
yeah,
And like Jaden Ivey's not even getting minutes in Detroit sometimes. So or wasn't this season's over. But Jabari was perfectly like serviceable for most of the season on offense. His defense needs to like step up a little bit.
hmm
And I think because he's kind of a skinnier guy guarding fives in a small ball five like lineup, um, I think he just needs to put on the weight. He needs to get bigger. He needs to Giannis up, you know. That'll come with time. So I'm not holding against him too hard, especially because next year is kind of like the season I want to judge him and Tari on the hardest. I won't be obviously like Şengün and Jalen, their contract, it's contract here for them. So do what you got to do. You're gonna get paid on based on what you do. But these two, for my evaluation, I'm saying like Tari and Jabari got to show me what they're made of now. And I think Jabari's got it. Like based on this season, he bounced back from some fucking horrendous games, dude. Like, frankly, that Spurs game, that first Spurs game, was
yes,
so
bro.
bad for Jabari, dude. I was like, because we talked about this last season. I remember our podcast like late January. We were like, look, he found his confidence and he's sniping now. He's hitting game winners now. Like we were like, that's all it takes is his confidence has to just stay high and he's gonna be insane. We started off the season with like that fucking loss to Orlando, and then he got bitched by the Spurs.
Yeah, brutal way to start the season, bro.
Terrible start, but he bounced back immediately. Like he didn't let it simmer, he didn't let it set. He just started cooking. You know what I'm saying? Damn,
And for sure,
that was a fucking bar. And he kept that shit going. He had another brutal game like near the end of the season. All of us, even like Rockets fans on the timeline, were like, "What the fuck, Jabari? Right? He missed the free throws, fucked up the last possession. He bounced back. He came back and played fine the rest of the season. Like that's the Jabari I need. Steady, like hitting them turnaround jumpers from the corner of the key, you know, not the corner threes. I mean, he can hit those too, but like I just need him to build on what he did this season. That's why I want to give him MIP. He put in work. I could see it, and he wasn't an issue for most of the season like he was last year.
I will add just for my selfish reasons, bro, is like those games that we lost to the Spurs and Dallas were brutal because he missed those free throws.
Yeah.
And like the Dallas one hurt a little bit more because he had two chances to make one. I don't remember the Spurs game. I don't know if he missed two or one, but bro, we're losing to our rivals. Like we hate these fucking teams. And I know you should try to win every game, not just because they're rivals, right? But for the fans, though, like those games really hurt. And I was looking forward to talk so much shit to those fans over there in that stadium, and I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still mad at Jabari, but I'll get over this, bro. Like he's gonna bounce back from this, and like you said, the game after that, he did play well, so I'll give him props on that. Like he showed up and he said, he knows he fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
missing those free throws, but he bounced back, and that's what you want to see, right? Like the players staying after the game, shooting extra free throws, or do whatever it takes, hit the weight room so you can come back stronger next year and be able to defend the fives, more consistently. So yeah, man, I think he'll bounce back for sure. Like he'll come back better than ever next year.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. He's just got that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you can tell Jabari was one of those dudes who had that dog in him. And he shows that on the court. When he squares up, he squares up. There's no like
yeah,
like standing around like shoving in the chest. He like squares up when he's
yeah,
ready to fight. So yeah, I
yeah. That
believe
was
in
dope.
Jabari still. He was my pick number one before the draft, so I'm sticking with that. Um, okay, last award. This is just kind of a fun one. Coach of the year. Uh, so I'll let you go first because I think you have the pick everybody is thinking that is the obvious pick. Go ahead.
Mhm. So coach of the year for me, I would say Fred VanVleet, bro. And what I mean by that is as a floor general, the guy who established really everything when the season started. And like we talked about it before, he understood the assignment, right? And he was a great leader.
He knew why he was getting paid.
Yeah, right from the beginning of training camp, where he was, getting the guys gifts to kind of show them, how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a confident team, a team that works well together. And you look at how well he played individually, dude. There's a lot of games where he was shooting the ball really good.
He set some
Um,
records. He tied some records, right?
yeah, man. And he was
Holy
just
crack.
putting the guys in place to be successful, man. Like he knew everything that Coach Udoka was asking for, he did it. And I think that was the perfect point guard for our team, bro, just to take us to that next level, to make us relevant again, and
Mm-hmm.
just to show the guys, or even Men Thompson, how the point guard position is supposed to be ran, or giving tips to Jalen whenever he's the primary ball handler on the floor, and that some of the things to look out for. So to have a vet like that in your locker room, it just works wonders for the team, bro. And we saw it this year. Credit to Fred, man. He did a hell of a job.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, maybe that wasn't the one that people were thinking of. But yeah, he definitely coached the hell out of these guys, right? Like it's obvious when you see the way they listen to him in the huddles, when they listen to him on the court, the way he's directing. Um you can see that like he's already earned that respect amongst his peers in the league, and like that just carried over when he joined the team. People knew what he was about. They know he's not like about the flash and the whatever bullshit. He's just there to like put in work. That's what got him this far. Everybody knows it. So like that's all anybody expects. And that's what he does. He comes to work, he puts in work. And the guys picked up on it. And I love that Stone had like the foresight to be like, let's not just go for the guy who's like, let's not just go for the biggest name. They could have
Mhm.
just gone for James Harden, and maybe we would have won more games. But I genuinely don't think it would have been better for the long-term development of any of the younger guys to have gotten James Harden instead of Fred VanVleet. So I'm full agreement with your pick, Fred VanVleet, Coach of the Year. But
Can
I have a
you
different one.
can
Oh, go ahead.
before can you say that again? What you just said, bro? Because there's just one person on Twitter, bro, that just keeps bringing that up. Like, oh, the Rockets would have made the playoffs if we would have got Harden instead of Fred. And like, is Harden a better player? Yeah, of course he is. But what's better for the team long term, like you said, right? We're trying to build this to where we don't just win one championship. We want like five of them, right?
Yeah.
Not that that's going to happen, but I'm just saying the plans are to make the team successful as a whole. Everybody on the team is cooking, not just one person.
Yeah. I think that, and it's I think there's an easy counter, which is to point to Tyrese Maxey and be like, look what Harden did for Tyrese Maxey, right? At the same time,
Mhm.
like let's see. Let's see what Tyrese Maxey becomes, because we're talking long-term development. Anybody can play with the MVP and get, easier shots. Anybody can play with Joel Embiid or like next to James Harden and pick up insane things that make them a better player. Sure. And Tyrese Maxey, to his credit, is an insane player. Like he had crazy potential and he capitalized on it. I'm not trying to take anything away from Tyrese Maxey. I really like the guy,
Yeah,
but
me too.
like, let's see what it becomes. Like it's not like the Sixers, as soon as James Harden became like number one seed favorites for the title. Like they're losing to the Knicks right now. They're down 2-0. It's
Yep.
only 2-0, and that series feels like it's done.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I feel
the
like it's
Knicks ripped their
cooked.
heart out tonight. So like let's see what Tyrese becomes. But overall, like the mentality I feel of like what was the book that he got them? Chop Wood Carry Water, right?
Yeah.
Like that mentality of like just come in, do the work, come in, do the work, and trust that it'll deliver the results that you want. Like do what got you here and then do it better every day. So like that kind of mentality, I feel like you can instill that in these guys. That's the culture issue that you had last season. That's it. That's addressed. Like what else
Yep.
do you need from floor general point guard vet? That's why you paid him. That's why
Yep.
he
Yep.
got the money he got.
a
And that's why
player
the Rockets
slash.
jumped 19 wins, you know? Sorry, what did you say?
Yep. No, I said like he's a player slash coach. Like I can easily see Fred being an assistant somewhere, like whenever he retires, because
Hmm.
of how good of a floor general he is, like slash coach. You could totally like see that.
Even OKC fans will talk about how good for Shea's development Chris Paul was.
Hmm.
Do you think Darren Williams would have been
Facts.
that same influence on him? Like, let's be real here. You think like I'm no shade to Derrick Rose, but do you think Derrick Rose is that kind of a mentor figure that could be like, hey, Shea, look, here's what got me to an MVP level, and like coach him and take him under his wing and make him that much better? Like, maybe, but there are some players where you're like, that's more likely to happen with that player. And I think
Exactly.
Stone very clearly was like, there's pros and cons for James Harden and for Fred VanVleet. But right now, we need somebody who's gonna like shift these six guys' paths more towards championship in over the next 20 years than over just the next 5, you know?
Facts.
That's it. That's where I think Fred VanVleet is totally justified as like coach of the year for yeah, coach of the year for the team. But my pick for the defensive reasons, but that's secondary. Primarily for the dances. No, primarily for the scrapping. Like, I know I said I don't want this to become like the reputation. Like, I don't want us to be like dirty players or anything like that, or a dirty team. But man, Dylan brings an edge of like we're a little unhinged. You know, there's
Yep.
something
Hmm.
that's like, don't fuck with that guy. You know, like when he's staring at the bench for two
Yeah,
minutes
bro.
before games, he's staring at the
Hmm.
opposition bench for 2 minutes. That's crazy behavior. Or just some of the things he does to get under people's skin, talking shit to LeBron's like in his face, whatever it is, like laughing at Luca when he gets a tech, just all those little things where it's like, yeah, when your opponent is down, you know, laugh at him a little bit. Don't kick him, but laugh at him a little bit and like
Yeah.
let him feel a little bit lower and let it affect the rest of the game. Like he has that edge. And I feel like that's the reason none of these kids were taking any shit. There was even like, I think when Jeremy Sohan tripped up Amen Thompson, I don't know if he did it intentionally. I genuinely don't know. I can't tell from the clip. But
No, he
man,
did.
I'll tell you what, Amen Thompson very intentionally wanted to send the message that he's not going to let that shit happen anymore. And he got
Hmm.
up right in his face and was like, don't fucking touch me. He was like, we're playing basketball. Don't fucking do anything else. We're playing basketball. He's like, you want to do something else?
Yep.
We'll make it something else. And like, that's it. That's the tone you got to set. It's like, we're here to hoop. Don't fucking cross the line. Don't try and get
Yes.
under our skin, you know? And
Hmm.
they everybody 1 through 15 sort of had that edge. It took a little while. I don't think it happened like off rip as soon as we got Dylan, but like, I think he coached them into that. Like, I think he was like, don't let, like, Jalen was, there's no way Jalen is being like up in Bradley Beal's face, like, ask him what the fuck is wrong with him, you know,
Hmm.
over whatever, like an inbounds play or whatever the fuck it was. Like Jalen was immediately like shutting that shit down. I think Cam would have like whooped Devin
Okay.
Booker's ass anyway. I don't think
Yeah.
Cam needed any coaching, but like Amin Thompson, dude, if you like you listen to any of those interviews he does before the draft, and you're like, this is such a like sweet kid. He's like a little basketball nerd, and then you see him on the
Yeah.
court, and he's a fucking beast. He's an animal,
Yeah,
and like I
bro.
feel like part of that at least comes from Dylan Brooks. So like that's why I want to give Dylan Brooks a little bit of props. His defense wasn't always there, but I feel like he elevated the team's defense by being there. He elevated the team's edge by being there. I'm giving him coach of the year,
Fact. This is a good
not
pick,
Ben
bro. And like,
Sullivan, because teach these fools how to shoot.
no, but I will agree with you, Reese. Like the scuffles really were one of my favorite parts of this year, and just letting the league know, like we're here, we're coming. Um, it's you guys better not fuck with us because we'll fight anybody. And like I would say, Cam Whitmore, bro, that's somebody that you like should never fuck with. He looks like
Title fighter,
he would, yeah, bro. He looks like a linebacker. Like he'll beat your
which is
ass.
crazy because all of his interviews are very similar to Amen's. Where like he's such a nice kid, like he's like a regular ass dude, and then like he gets on the
Yeah,
court and he's just like the look in his eyes, dude. The
yeah.
he's something swaps out when that buzzer goes and like the 15 minutes is off the clock. He's
Hmm.
like ready to go. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm I went over it earlier. I love this team. This was a special team coming out of the rebuild. I think phase 2 is off to a wild success. Like, yeah, we didn't make the playoffs, but we're the only 41 win team who didn't make the playoffs, right? Like Let's be real here. Any other year we would have made the playoffs.
In the
So
West, by the way.
success, huh?
In the West,
In
that
the
was
West
fucking
too.
crazy this year. Yeah.
I think it was like 46 wins or something, right? To make the playoffs this year.
To get in. Yeah. Shit.
46 to get into the playoffs. A
That's
50-win
wild.
season used to be like, oh, they had a 50-win season, you know?
Yeah.
Wild.
And the East
All
would
right.
have made it, I think, number 9, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. We would have I think we would have been over Atlanta and somebody else. I don't know. But yeah, we'll pivot. Um, that's it for the Rockets. That's it for the season. Good season. We enjoyed covering it. I don't know when we technically start like our next season of the podcast because I know we're on season 2 right now. It'll be somewhere like either after the draft or after summer league or some shit. But the actual season is done. Um, so let's pivot to the Texans.
Yes,
Texans are
sir.
about to start. Draft starts up soon. The new unis are out tomorrow. What are your
Yep.
thoughts? Tell me. I don't know anything anymore.
Well, tomorrow they're gonna, have them for the public at 10 in the morning. I will be there at the team store to see what they look like. We saw some of the leaks that came out already. I think they look dope, bro. The only one that I'm not a big fan of is the white one
Hmm.
because I know if I'm not responsible enough to have a white jersey at a football game. That shit will get dirty so fast with like
Gonna
the
make a mess.
tailgating, the drinks, the beer, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the red one, and the red one looks fucking dope. With Tank wearing it. Somebody put a picture on Twitter, and if I see that tomorrow, that's the one I'm copping for sure. I got to get a Tank, and I got to get a CJ. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably, if they have anything with that blue, with the Oilers blue, I'm copping that. So, really, I think those two jerseys will probably be my favorite. Whichever one has the Oiler colors and the red one. Um, but the other ones look dope, bro. What are your thoughts on the jerseys and the new units that you've seen?
So I saw the ones that leaked, and I think it was the white ones with like the darker coloring on it for the
Hmm.
numbers. And people were like, "Oh, it looks like the Atlanta Falcons one," and I was like, "I don't really see that, but all right, even if it does, like, how many like real different jersey designs are you gonna have in the league? You know, with 32 teams." So that didn't
Hmm.
really bother me that it looked like anybody else's. Maybe I haven't been paying attention long enough for me to be like, "Oh, it feels like an Atlanta Falcons jersey." I thought it looked cool. The one that impressed me was the one with the horns like on the shoulders. I think there were
Yeah,
two or
bro.
three of them that had those.
Yeah,
And it was the darker one that had I think red horns or some shit. It looked sick. Maybe it was just the red jersey. Did
yeah.
you see the teased helmet with the candy red face mask?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, I need
That's
to find that for you.
crazy.
It was a red helmet and then the face mask because it was blurred. It was the all you could see clearly was the face mask. It was candy
Yeah.
red paint. And I was just like,
Oh,
dude, if they actually put those on the helmets, it's gonna look so sick on TV. And like, I'm not gonna buy a helmet, but like they gotta make a hat or something where like the lettering is like candy paint or some shit. I don't know. But like I
shit.
need
I'll
something. It looks
I'll
so
buy
good.
I'll buy a small helmet. They sell the small ones like at Fanatics or Lids locker room. Like
Might be
I'll
the
cop
move.
one of those. I don't know if you saw Paul Wall when he was tweeting. If you've seen his tweet, but he was saying he was going to be there to cop a lot of merchandise
Oh.
tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be dope if if I got to see him over there.
Mm-hmm.
But the blue jerseys are typically what we wear on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that change and wear the red jersey on the road or maybe at home, right? If the red jersey was our home jersey, that would be sick, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just play around with the other ones with the other jerseys on away games, or maybe you could wear a certain jersey for primetime games,
Mm-hmm.
Monday Night Football,
They're
Thursday
gonna have
night.
some primetime games this season.
Oh yeah, especially
Uh,
against the Cowboys.
I just sent you the red the face mask,
Okay,
the picture. Check that shit out.
on Twitter, right?
No, I just texted it to you.
Okay. Yeah, bro. I'm the red one. You already know, Reezy. Like I'm copping one
The
of the
red one's
red
gonna look
ones.
so good,
Oh shit, this shit looks stupid
right?
dope. Golly.
It's gonna
Oh
look
yeah,
good. I'm
yeah,
ready for it.
yeah,
People are gonna hate
yeah.
tomorrow. I don't care. I really don't care. Just like people always love to hate on some new shit. Like anytime a UI gets redesigned or anytime any logo gets redesigned, people are always like, "Oh, it looks mad stupid," and then like a year later, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I don't even remember what the old one looks like." So I'm gonna be happy with whatever it is. Um, I did have I had some question about the Texans, but I can't remember. What's our draft situation look like?
So we draft at 42. We don't have no picks in the first round,
Mm,
but I think part of the reason we're at 42 is because the trade we had with Stephon Diggs and how we used some of those assets, to acquire him. So we still move back, but I think there's a lot of players that we have in mind that are around that area that
mhm.
we could still potentially get. Like I still think we're going to draft a wide receiver and a running back.
Another one?
Yeah,
Mm.
just because to have like a healthy running back on your roster that's actually good and effective is
Oh,
never
I meant
been a
wide
bad
receiver. My bad.
problem. Oh, wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, really the same thing, bro. Just to have guys that are hungry, ready to
Hmm.
go, that you can plug in.
Hmm.
I mean, some of the plays on our offense with Bobby Slowick as the coordinator are just like wide receiver friendly, and I
Hmm.
don't think they're that hard to like understand or to learn from. Because we saw Tank did it his first year, right?
Hmm.
He blew up his first year. I know Tank is like a specimen, like he's one of a kind, but if he can pick up on it, why can't the next guy, right?
Right.
And you
I
could
mean,
just
so
plug
many
him
of the
in.
wide receivers on that team excelled last season. Like Noah Brown had a hell of a season. But even like Brevin Jordan was catching fucking touchdowns, and Robert Woods was catching touchdowns. So like, I guess yeah, it does make sense to have way more options than just three guys or whatever.
Yeah, bro, because injuries happen all the time in NFL, especially at those positions. Remember, Tank got hurt last year.
Hmm.
We missed him badly, bro, in that Ravens game. I think he really would have helped us just to like, have that deep threat guy that can, take the top off the defense.
Right.
And so really excited for this draft, man. It's gonna start Thursday. I've always been a big fan of the draft. I always tune in, even if my team's not drafting in the first round, because there's so much shit that happens, like trades, teams move up, teams draft another quarterback when they already have a starter. So that creates a lot of drama. And it also makes like other teams desperate, right? To give
Hmm.
up extra assets that they don't really have to, but they still do it. And that's where we can go in there and fuck up some shit. You never know what Nick Casario has in store
He's got some shit
to
cooking up.
move up. Yeah, bro, because he's been cooking the last couple of years, and if there's one guy you can trust in this organization, it's Nick Casario. Not to say you can't trust D'Amico, but Nick has been cooking with
Hmm.
gas, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, I mean, let's see another season from D'Amico. We're gonna see it, so let's see another one, and let's see what we get when the organization's all in. Like what more could he ask for at this point? He's got all of the defensive guys he wants. He's got an offense that's among the best in the league now. Let's see what he can cook up if he's as good as they say, right? And it looks like he is. Um, I was gonna ask about something else. Oh, you saying Nick Casario's been that good in the last couple of drafts. The first draft I ever watched was last year. So my standard is up here for Nick Casario. If we don't walk away with like the first and the second pick, then
Yeah.
it's gonna be a letdown for me.
No, I mean that's really the type of draft that he had last year. It was something that a lot of us never seen, where they just traded up and snagged Will Anderson Jr. after CJ, which
Mhm.
was crazy. I remember me and you were talking about it, and you were like, "Wait, can they really do that?" I remember you
Because that would
asking me
never
that.
happen in the NBA, right? Like that would
Yeah,
never happen in the NBA. I was
yeah,
like, is that something that happens in the NFL? You were like, no, this doesn't happen in the NFL either.
yeah.
Crazy.
And the fact we got those two guys, what I'm saying, back to back, just changed the
Both
culture.
rookies of the year,
Ch-
man.
yeah, changed the team. It just really gave hope to the city that we were desperately like needing for a long time. And I will say before we end this podcast, bro, I will say thank you to the Houston Astros for those years of being good and great and winning championships, because now it's kind of they're passing the torch back to us, right, to the Rockets and the Texans,
Yeah.
because
It really
it's
feels
almost
like the
like,
Texans. Like if I'm being honest, like if
yeah,
I'm being objective, it really feels
yeah,
like it went Rockets, Astros, Texans,
yeah.
and like the Texans are up next, and like the Rockets will be after that.
Because there's a lot of sacrifice that was made, bro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Texans were ass for a while, but the Astros were winning World Series. And how many times we went to ALCS? I think it was 9 straight times.
Crazy.
It don't look good for us right now, but maybe we can turn it around, man. We need to get a lot of our guys back from injury. Our pitchers, we have like a lot of them on injury right now,
Insane
bro.
injuries right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just giving away games at the end, like in the eighth, ninth inning right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
hopefully we can get better from this. A lot of Astro fans already given up on the season. I don't know if you check some of the timeline, but they're
Hell no.
done, bro. Like they're
Astros are playing
cooked.
like trash right now, but I'm not giving up on nothing. Like as long as we got Bregman, Altuve, Alvarez, Tucker, we'll be fine. Pitchers will come back when they're not injured, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, man. I just Abreu, man. You gotta step it up because they're cooking them bad, Reese.
Abreu is
They're
playing
cooking
like
Abreu.
dog shit right now. He's like
Yeah,
.01 something, like his on base percentage, whatever his batting average. It's
yeah.
crazy bad.
It's one of the worst in the entire league.
What
Like
happened to that dude? Did he get was it
it's
injury or something?
atrocious.
Like
No,
I miss Uncle Mike.
I know, man. But hopefully we can pick it up. I remember a time where Rockets were in the playoffs, Texans were in the playoffs, and the Astros were in the playoffs. You remember that? When we had
Don't start, man. It was right after Harvey. Like Harvey hit, and it
yeah,
was Astros won the World Series, and we were like, all right, now it's the Texans and the Rockets turn. And the Rockets were in the Western Conference Finals, and then the Texans imploded and the Rockets imploded, and everything went to shit except the Astros. The Astros won another one. I'll take it. Honestly,
but
like
if
the
the
Texans went to
torch
shit and they won one. Yeah, Rockets went to shit and they won another one. Cool. Now the Astros are gone to shit, so the Texans got to win one. We're going to the Super Bowl
yes, sir.
and we're
But
winning that shit.
if the torch has been passed, to the Rockets and the Texans, hey man, thank you for everything you've done, Houston Astros. But it's our time now. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well,
Look, man.
I think that covers it. I don't know exactly when we'll be back because there's not a lot going on with the Rockets. The playoffs are going on. Um, I don't know. Like, what's the next thing after the draft for the NFL?
Really, it's just I would say like the schedule release where they come out with the matchups and like the
Mm-hmm.
primetime games and how the schedule looks. I know we're gonna get a tough schedule because we won our division. That it
Mm-hmm.
always happens that way, but we have CJ Stroud now, so I don't give a fuck. Like we
Yeah.
can play all the tough team Spurs, whatever y'all want to do, bring it on.
Yeah, that
So I
just
think that's
means
the
it's going to be
next
more
thing.
embarrassing for better teams next year. We're going to whoop their
Exactly.
asses anyway.
Hmm.
All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up then. You can find the podcast at Sittin Sideways with no G and an underscore at the end on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on Pocket Cast, which is the one I use. Yeah, sub to our channel and podcast wherever your audio platform. You can find me on Twitter at Reezy Season, REEZYSCN.
You can find me at Ike Cuellar. That's IKECUELLAR on Twitter and X, whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. Make sure y'all subscribe to our YouTube though, man. Y'all don't be lame. Make sure y'all subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you for everybody who does subscribe and leaves a review or a comment. We appreciate it. We read all of them. The shirts are coming. I have my list of people now. I haven't put the order in, but I have the list. So if you want to
Let's
sneak
go.
on, this is your last chance. And then yeah, keep an eye posted on the podcast on the Twitter account because we might have some guests coming up to like tide us over the off season. Just keep content interesting, and we think it'll be people you want to hear from, and it might not just be like, oh, what are your thoughts on the Rockets? Like these people, um, they have voices in the community, you know, like they're influential in the community. So like let's find out more about them. Let's find out what makes them tick and like who are they actually fans of? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? We want to have some Cowboys fans in our midst. We're gonna expose and eviscerate them.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Because
right.
that shit is that cool.
We're not gonna let these sleeper agents just like sleep among us. Fuck that. All right.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll call it there. Fuck Dallas, dude. I hate Dallas so much.
I
Thank you,
know,
James
me
Harden. James
too.
Harden
Yeah.
cooked that fat bitch Luca last night, and it was so satisfying to watch. Sweaty ass motherfucker was just complaining to the refs the entire fucking game. Shoot the ball.
The real Harden
Your
versus
team
the
is
fake
ass.
Harden.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was real Harden versus fake Harden. Jason Kidd. I'm not even gonna say that. All right. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Peace. Go Rockies.
There you go.